Okay, so we have the thing here.
Oh, thank you. I usually see.
You ready?
Well, me. Oh, you.
Okay, I don't have a gavel here, but I'm going to make a virtual bang. We are commencing the March 28th, 2022 meeting of the Parks and Shade Tree Commission. We have a reasonably full agenda today, and I suppose we will do these unless there's some reason otherwise to do them out of order. We have them in order, and I'm going to do it that way. Wanted to first ask, let me do the roll call first, okay? Ms. Ritter?
Present.
Okay. Ms. Downs? She's seated. Ms. Herron?
Present.
Okay, and we have Glenn Mandelis, the city commissioner, is here, and Liz Lingo, the city arborist. Wanted to ask Ann Womack, the city secretary, if the status or whatever of the notices for the meeting, all that.
Yeah, the agenda was posted on March 18th, and it was amended and reposted on March 21st.
Okay. Okay, very good. And was there any, we don't have any correspondence, additional other than I think one of the appellants brought some additional materials which you've distributed. Okay. Without further ado, and I'm grabbing my glasses here, which I need. I thought we'd start with the case number one. I'm just going to read the blurb. Has been requested by Wayne Hamby of the Shoreline Construction on behalf of James Keating, owner of the property located at 30 Park Avenue, pursuant to Section 253.12C of the Municipal Code, and pertains to the removal of one multi-stem shrub located along the unimproved right-of-way adjacent to 30 Park Avenue. Liz, were you going to do your thing? Okay, great.
The following is the report of the city arborist with regard to the above referenced request that is heard before the commission on Monday, March 28, 2022. The applicant has submitted a request to remove one multi-stem shrub in good condition located along an unimproved right-of-way adjacent to 30 Park Avenue. On February 25th, 2022, the applicant submitted an incomplete tree permit to building and licensing related to additions to an existing home. The site plan noted 4 private property trees and 1 city street tree proposed for removal to accommodate required parking and a pool. It should be noted that City Code defines street tree in 253.1 as trees, shrubs, bushes, and all other woody vegetation on land lying between property lines on either side of all streets, avenues, or ways within the city. There is 1 city loblolly pine tree in good condition adjacent to the property. The applicant will need permission to remove this vegetation in order to obtain his building permit. If the request is not granted, any redesign of the parking access will potentially further impact the surrounding large pine trees. As per City Code, Parks and Shade Tree Commission has authority to permit the removal of street trees, 253.12 Maintenance C. No person shall plant, spray, preserve, prune, remove, cut above ground, or otherwise disturb any tree on any street or municipal owned property without first receiving permission from the Parks and Shade Tree Commission. Any tree removed from municipal owned property must be replaced unless otherwise authorized by the Parks and Shade Tree Commission.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for
I do.
Liz? Okay.
Hi, Liz. 2 questions about your statement here. You said submitted an incomplete tree permit. Has that been rectified?
Yes,
It has been rectified. Great.
that's not that uncommon, FYI.
Okay, just want to know. And then in your 3rd paragraph, the applicant will need permission to remove this vegetation. Is that referring again just to the shrub?
Yeah, that's the only thing it's kind of front and center in the way of where the new driveway
Okay, that
will
was
go.
a little non-specific for me, and I just wanted to be sure that I understood. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay. Do you have any question?
No, I don't think I have any questions on this
Okay.
one.
I'm just curious, I mean, is this is, I would, yes,
I need for everybody to have their microphones right to them.
right, okay, very good,
Sorry.
all right. I'm losing my train of thought here. No, but I assume this is somewhat unusual that we're just dealing with the shrub here.
Yeah, I mean, I have no authority to permit any clearing on any city right away. It all goes to the Parks and Shade Tree Commission. So this is unusual.
Okay, all right, okay. Is are the Keatings here? Or? Oh, you're Wayne. Do you have anything to add, or are you just here to observe? Yeah, it seems to be. Yeah.
Please come up to the table.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought we could hear him, but anyway, yeah. Okay.
I brought my ears because I can't hear very well, but for the incomplete on the memorandum, there is one tree in the back, a holly, I believe it's a large holly, that would have to be removed if a pool was installed. It's not part of my contract.
Right.
So it would be.
That'd be another.
Yeah, but it was on the plans, and that's why
Right,
that was.
okay. I just wanted to find if you had anything else to, sorry to, but just to be thorough, but that's fine. And if you had something else to offer, that's great, but that's not a problem. Do we have any, is there anybody from the public here to comment? I didn't think so. All right.
Liz, I just wanted to ask one thing. That pine tree, that's on city property? The rights of way on Henlopen are so confusing.
Well, this is on Park, but yeah.
I mean, Park.
Anywhere where you don't have the sidewalk, it gets a little confusing. There is one city pine tree, but they have several pine trees, I believe, in the front of their property too, and they kind of worked around them when they were doing the design. So we end up sacrificing one shrub for, the owners to have what they want as well as to maintain the trees. So I think it's a pretty simple case, hopefully.
Okay.
I have one question for Mr. Hamby. I took pictures in advance just for myself, so I would know what we were talking about. And the orange coating or the orange netting around each of the items, what meaning do those have?
I can answer for them. It's required by the city.
Oh, thank you, Liz.
It's root zone protection.
Oh,
Basically, so nobody runs into the trees or removes them. Like when they have subs on site, it just is another layer of don't touch. So.
so it's a don't touch for the construction. I see. Thank you
Yes.
for the clarification.
Good question, though. So,
Liz, if they were to authorize the removal of this vegetation, do you have any recommendation as to mitigation? Should there be any? Should there be none?
I would leave that up to the commission. I don't feel strongly that there should be.
okay. Is anyone prepared to make a motion? Assuming we have no more discussion, and I'm not, it doesn't have to be you. But,
I would make a motion, but I first wondered what you all think about mitigation, whether we should require any mitigation.
In my opinion, no.
Okay, and I move that we approve this request to remove the shrub in order to permit the parking to be put where the property owner wants to put it.
I second.
Okay. We have a motion on the table. Just want to vote as to how you proceed?
I agree with that.
Okay, so you vote yes.
I vote yes.
Okay.
I vote yes.
I vote yes.
I vote yes. The vote is unanimous. It's approved. Okay. I think we've done.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Enjoy your new addition.
Bye, Wayne.
Gotcha. I hear you. In under 15 minutes. That's pretty good. Okay. On to the second item. This is case number 2. It's been requested by Mansour Yazdani, I hope I have that correct, owner of the property located at 94 Henlopen Avenue pursuant to Section 25312C of the Municipal Code and pertains to the removal of 2 specimen pine trees located along an unimproved right-of-way adjacent to 94 Henlopen Avenue. Okay, and I'll hand it off to Liz on this one. Thanks.
The following is the report of the city arborist with regard to the above referenced request that is to be heard before the commission on Monday, March 28, 2022. The applicant has submitted a request to remove 2 specimen pine trees, 32 and 34 inches in diameter. Both trees are in good condition and located along an unimproved right-of-way adjacent to 94 Henlopen Avenue. The current house is built in 2006, at which time the sewer line was not replaced as a standard with the new homes. The original home was built in 1953, which makes the sewer lateral almost 70 years old. On May 29, 2007, approximately 1 year after the house was completed, the applicant was denied a request to remove the 2 city trees by the city manager, Greg Faris, and the city arborist, Bill Pike. In June of 2016, the applicant again requested that the city remove the trees. City manager Sharon Lynn consulted with the city water and sewer superintendents and the city arborist regarding the request. The city manager and the city arborist met with the applicant on site and relayed, similar to the letter issued in 2007, that the request could not be honored. That decision was sent in writing to the applicant on June 8, 2016. The letter referred them to the Parks and Shade Tree Commission and offered additional guidance on root and sewer conflicts. This previous email in June 2021, the applicant again contacted the city regarding the pine trees. He submitted a tree removal permit application on December 2021 and was referred to the commission for the second time. The applicant eventually filed a request with the commission on February 25th, 2022. As reflected in multiple communications, tree roots are rarely the cause of water and sewer line damage. Tree roots will detect any moisture from a leak and seek out that source of water. Lines that are crumbling, cracked, and failing will almost always be invaded by tree and shrub roots, and those roots will continue to thrive in the nutrient and moisture-rich environment. In the wooded setting of Henlopen Avenue, it is not simple to determine where the roots originate. Tree roots can extend out 3 times the distance of the canopy, and shrub roots can also be found in lines. Unfortunately, the removal of these 2 trees will not eliminate the issue of sewer backups. That will only be resolved by replacing the lateral or removing all nearby trees and shrubs. As per City Code, Parks and Shade Tree Commission has authority to permit the removal of street trees. 253.12, maintenance. No person shall plant, spray, preserve, prune, remove, cut above ground, or otherwise disturb any tree on any street or municipal-owned property without first receiving permission from the Parks and Shade Tree Commission. Any tree removed from municipal-owned property must be replaced unless otherwise authorized by the Parks and Shade Tree Commission.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions or comments to Liz?
I do.
Sure.
In your second paragraph, the first major paragraph, there's the statement is that at which time the sewer line was not replaced, as is the standard with new homes. Are we saying that the standard with new homes is to replace the sewer line or is not?
Is.
Is.
Yes.
So so this is was a non-standard.
I wasn't here then, so all I can read is the documentation that was provided to me by the Water and Sewer Department.
Just to be clear, the standard would have been
The standard is new back to the main.
new back to the main. So that would have been in 2006 or so, 5-6.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anybody have any other comments or questions? Okay, well, thanks, Liz. I assume did you have some comments to make? Okay. Yeah, if you would. Just identify yourself.
Yes.
Okay.
Is the mic on?
Yeah, that'd be fine.
My name is Mansour Yazdani, and I reside in the 94 Henlopen Avenue. Couple of years after we moved to the property, we noticed that we have a problem with the sewer backing up to the house.
Okay.
First, the sewer showed up in the, the outside shower, which is enclosed shower. It was almost about 4 inches of the sewer, toilet paper, and everything that you can imagine. Then we saw the back up to the 2 bathroom, which is 2 toilet, which is right next to it inside the house.
Okay.
And a few times, and we end up to call Caswell Plumbing, calling Ruder every year to coming there. It happens every summer. They're coming in and just going through the line with the pipe, with the camera, and to be able to, find the problem, clean it up, and then take it out. We talked to the, arborist. We talked to our contractor, Mr. Philip Bradley, who built the house back in that time. And everybody was, telling us that this two tree on the side is impacting, those line and is breaking up to the pieces. And probably the root is, as she explained it, growing inside there.
Okay.
That was not only the problem. This tree, in the new picture I just submitted today morning to you, if you look at it, is leaning toward the, about 30 degree is moving, I just noticed it yesterday, and she was actually there, this lady taking some picture around me that I took my own picture, is leaning toward the, the electric pole that is sitting there. And on the top of it is a very long tree, and he also pointing toward the wire line there. If that tree comes down for any reason, it's going to damage my cars in the front there, which is leaning. It's going to damage the car, on the other side, the park, and it's probably destroying 2 houses there, which is on the other side. That's the other impact of it. Third, the big branch of this tree came down in my house, in the front of the, on the top of my car. It was a Mercedes S550 was parked right in the front, and it smashed it, the windshield, and the damage to the car, So when you look at it, this, as she stated, this tree is well and alive. Yes, but it's damaging mine, my problem. That tree being alive is just causing me a problem. And this problem, I'm not crazy to putting an application every year that I have to pay about the $600-700 a year to just cleaning up the root of this tree, and on the top of it is already damaged the 2 driveway we have on side by side. Every 2-3 years we have to change the pavers because the root is pushing it up, and we have a couple of people fell down because those paver was out of you can see it on the picture, they are not even aligned because we have to take them out and put them back again, and try to lower them so every time to be able to make it a smooth surface. So there is 2 trees there, but I believe the one on the right side, the picture of it is there. This is a more problem than the one on the left.
Just so we know which one you're talking about, as you're facing the house, right?
He's saying left as you're facing the house,
As
correct?
you're facing the house, okay.
Yeah.
He's
Just wanted
talking
to
left as you
Yeah,
face the
okay.
house.
So I'm willing to compromise here instead of having the 2 of the tree moved on the same time. I'm not a tree killer. I almost build. When I build a house, I maybe plant more than 60, 70 trees, in the back of my house, on the side, putting the bushes. I think the picture she has, it shows that, I put the 6, other beautiful, gorgeous tree right in the front with the garden, with the road. My wife loves gardening and doing that. So we are not trying to, just take a tree out of there for any reason. No, it's causing the problem. And if you guys don't decision not to let us to move that, you guys going to be responsible eventually for any health damage or somebody get killed if that tree come down and go to somebody else houses. That's your full responsibility. Eventually if that tree comes down or it causes any health hazards, which it does. There is a letter from the Lingo office because we rented the house 1 week there. In that letter, that email that it came to me, they had to hire the casual on the emergency cases, bring them there on a Sunday afternoon, pay almost double the money to clean that, and then go and sanitize the shower and sanitize and throw away all the furnitures out just because the sewer back up there. So. And I think this house, when you build it, my wife is an architect, and we designed the house. We contracted to the, contractor, and it was no issue brought to us that, what have to be done on the sewer or not. And I don't know this section that Liz was referring to, Ms. Lingo was referring to, when it has been established. It was before we built our house or it was after we built our house, If we known about it, it was no case for us, to putting a new line. I'm a civil engineer, construction management myself. I could easily, decide that, okay, that's not right. Let's take it out and do it there. That's not even came to our attention on the time of that, or maybe it was not the issue at that time. Even the house was built that time. So I am, asking you guys that let us to move at least the one on the left and see if the problem going to be solved. And hopefully that's the case. And then if it exists and going forward, we can go with the, if it comes to the point to, retapping the, to the, putting a new line of the, the sewer, I'm open to it. I have to do one or the others if that's the cause. Because my first, concern is a health. Because you don't want to have a sewer in your, bathroom and your toilet. I mean, who wants to have that,
Right.
And I don't care how much it costs. I'm taking care of it. If it has to do, I have to dig in and probably, doing some demolishing or whatever it is to get to it, if that. But in the meanwhile, I think that tree is dangerous, is causing a problem for us or family, for the neighbors around us. Tim Bennett is my next door neighbor. And he saw it and he knows that, So, but in the same time, I'm sure, is you guys' decision. And it get to the point that I have to show up over here and see what's going on here, what you can help us with it.
Okay. I had a question for Glenn, if just in terms of the liability question that he talks about, is to the what is. Are there liability issues with regard to street trees in the city?
So Delaware has what's called the Municipal Tort Immunities Act. So for a lot of things, the city is not liable. There does come a point where, when you knowingly allow something that's, going to clearly create a hazard, the city could become liable. But for things like potholes or raised sidewalks or things like the trip and fall, the cities are pretty much immune from any of those sorts of suits. So we have trees throughout the city. We encourage trees. Limbs are going to fall from time to time. Generally, we're immune from suits on those sorts of things. Doesn't mean we won't have headaches and somebody won't try to bring an action against us and we'll have to defend it on the basis of the Immunities Act. But generally, we're immune for that kind of stuff.
Right.
Now, that said, we shouldn't turn a blind eye and say we're not worried about it when there's a real hazard out there.
Yeah. Well, I guess my question was, in the event of, let's say, a limb coming off of a city tree, something that's on the city property per se, but it falls in your yard or creates damage on your property or whatever. And I assume that's still the property owner's problem.
That's right.
Yeah. Right.
May I add a point here?
I will comment though, I've dealt with quite a few insurance claims. So if it falls from a city tree onto city property, the number one thing they want is a record of a good inspection, which I do annually, if not more, for all the city trees. And they want to know a hazard assessment report. So which combines not just the impact the tree would have from failing, but the likelihood of it failing and the likelihood of it impacting certain things. And that's what creates a hazard rating, not just, hey, if this tree falls, it's going to kill everybody, because that's pretty much every tree in the city limits. So that's what the insurance companies look for from us. So we would worry about, say, being negligent if we had a dead city tree and we didn't take care of it promptly.
Okay.
Liz, may I ask, whose job is it to prune trees on city property?
That's a complicated question. So if the tree got there naturally, like grew on its own, or the city planted it, the city is completely responsible. If it was planted by a homeowner on city property, then we make the homeowner responsible for caring for it.
Do we know who planted this tree or how it got there? Or?
I would assume, it could have been planted, because if you look at how they're positioned, but they've been there a long time, probably since the original house. So possibly they planted them there. Maybe they just allowed them to grow there. But the city would prune those trees because it would just be too hard to track. Whereas the crepe myrtle is planted on city property, that's obviously done by a property owner.
Okay.
You had a comment to make?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Well, nobody can ask a tree, how did you come to birth? You know, that's your mom and dad, with the birth certificates. So that's for a fact, you know. But the situation is that house was empty almost, you know, with the 15, 20 years, and it was just like a rental property for a lady that he was living there. And I just came across of it and asked for it, and I bought the, you know, the property was an old house there. You know, we demolished it and put a brand new house in there. In case of the insurance thing, I'd call my insurance company and ask, you know, if something like that happened, if this tree comes down completely, if any branches or anything come down there, whose responsibility is? Are you gonna pay for it? He said, since you bringing it up and you are concerning about it, it is your responsibility to taking care of this tree before any damage occurs. When it happens, you know, it's gonna be between the two parties going to litigation, you know, to see whose actually fault it is. But you are bringing it up to us, you know, that may gonna happen. And if that may gonna happen, you putting yourself on the situation that probably you knew about it. It looks like you're knowing about something that is not lawful and you go commit it and it became a crime, you know, so something like, so in that situation, is not, you know, to be able to determine when it's gonna come down, which it came down in our car. It cost us almost about a windshield, and, you know, and we couldn't, because our deductible was much, you know, higher to do that, so we have to pay it ourselves about, you know, $1,200, you know, to change the windshields and, you know, to get the car fixed. But what I'm trying to say over here, we know about this. I'm bringing it to your attention. If something gonna happen, for God bed, if that tree completely, look at the degree of that, it's a 30 degrees leaning to the left, you know, and this is, I noticed actually yesterday when she was taking a picture. So it looks like this, and it has a strong base, you know, it's a very flat. So it's not that it has some kind of doom around it, you know, grounding that, okay, it holds it, or the root is, you know, gonna be, you know, hold on. It may gonna be upended in any minute, you know, with a one strong wing and the thing. So that may happen.
It is
I want to
hard.
bring it to your attention that, you know,
Sure.
that's what it is.
It
you
is,
know?
I accept that. It's still hard to predict.
And when the problem happens, then it's going to be, you know, just case against each other. It's going to be me against you guys, somebody else against you guys, or whatever else is going to happen. So why not solve the problem before, you know, we get into the problem?
Okay.
I have some things to share. First of all, I want to clarify what Mr. Yazdani is, is referring to. What I did as part of my homework for today was to go around to each of the 3 properties and take a picture yesterday. And as I was in front of his property on the opposite side of the street, he came out and told me a lot about what he had to say, and I nodded and said, yes, and I'll see you tomorrow. So there wasn't any, I just want to make absolutely clear, there was no conversation between myself and Mr. Yazdani about any of the details. He shared some his concerns, but I made no comment, no feeling either way about it, just other than I'll see you at 10 tomorrow morning. So I want to make that absolutely clear that there was nothing behind the scenes here happening. And this is for you, Mr. Yazdani. I empathize with you, and I want to share with you a very similar experience that my husband and I had. We live just a few blocks from you in the Pines. We are year-round people. We've lived here. We've owned a house almost 30 years. We've lived here over 20 years year-round. So more than 10 years ago, even maybe closer to 13, I don't have the exact date, but it was 10 to 15 years ago, we too had a sewer line that backed up into the house on a regular basis. So I know your pain. When we had it fully investigated by Sherman Plumbing and then Caswell Plumbing, it was determined that tree roots were invading the sewer line. Now, our lot has many, many huge trees. And we cherish them as I know you cherish yours, because that's the nature of Rehoboth and the Pines specifically. At that time, we learned 2 very important facts, Jim and I did. Trees did not cause the faults in the sewer line. That was reiterated to us several times. Instead, the actual reverse is true. The very old clay pipe, which at that point was close to 60 years old at our home, I guess at your home it's now close to 70 years old, had developed several small leaks on its own, and therefore had invited the tree and shrub roots to seek out its moisture and nutrients. They just follow the food that's being offered to them. The tree is not the culprit. And the other thing we learned at the time is there is no easy way to tell which tree or shrub roots have intruded when you have canopies all different ways. As Liz mentioned, a tree root can be 3 times the canopy reaching over. So the intrusion is not at all likely, actually, to be the tree or shrub that looks near your sewer, our sewer line, we were told. It can just as easily be a tree or shrub that's many, many yards away. The suggested solution given to us from the plumbers, all of them, was to replace the faulty sections of the sewer line. After consideration, Jim and I agreed to that. That was done, and we have never, I repeat, never had a problem since. So that's 10 or 13 years or so that we've not had any problem. We're just a few blocks from you with similar sewers situation. And our lot and neighborhood, as I said, are both heavily, heavily wooded with many large trees and shrubs. As I've read your information, Mr. Yazdani, both my direct experience at our own home and the city arborist report for this case over time suggests that your situation is caused by cracks in your almost 70-year-old sewer line. These cracks have attracted these roots more and more as time goes by, and that's the insidious thing. A crack, a little root starts, and then the more and more root, and it causes these awful problems. The bottom line is that we have found if the sewer line is solid, the trees and shrubs do not try to invade on their own. That's my comment.
Go ahead.
Direct.
My house didn't build 70 years ago. My house built in 2005.
I understand.
And, they changed, that I had, Flip Bradley there. And he said they put a new line. And the new line is about the 3-4 inches. About the half an inch is a plastic pipe, these PVC pipes. Mm-hmm. And they get cracked, and this tree grew right to it. It's not that this is a 70 years old house that's sitting there in, what you're referring to. No.
I think I was referring to the perhaps 70-year-old sewer line.
But that was omitted on you were talking about the house is 70 years old.
Oh, no,
the house
sir.
is just built brand new based on the new regulations and all of in the 2005, and it is not.
I understand it, but I do want to clarify. I am talking about a potentially 70-year-old sewer line, because we've already established, as we began this conversation, as we talked to Liz, that the sewer line was not replaced when the house was built.
So if I go fix the sewer line and I still have a problem, what you guys gonna do? You're gonna cut the tree then after I spend the money, to replace it? Can you answer me?
Well, let me interject this. The situation, for a commission like this is we try to balance, obviously, your concerns and issues and the impact that this has had on you, directly in your pocketbook and everything else, with the sort of community interests of preserving the trees and maintaining the neighborhood as it is, and so forth and so on. And that, that's why we have a commission like this, and this is why we take it seriously and so forth. But the issue is, we have a tree ordinance that, there are laws in place and ordinances in place, to protect the community and so forth. And one of the issues is, when these trees come out, if we grant the removal, there's going to be a mitigation involved. You're going to have to replace the tree, in some form or another, which is going to cost money. I'm just saying.
Entry.
Right. But
I don't care. I don't want him, my property, my health, my safety, neighbor safety to be. I donate 10 trees to you guys.
Okay.
I have to check right now.
So I'm just saying, if we're just looking at the scale of dollars here, I would think that the replacement of the line, or getting the line replaced, and hopefully, curing that part of the problem, would be probably in the realm of what the mitigation would be. So I'm just trying to balance it to the extent that I can. I don't know if you have any other comments or anybody
Mr.
else. has any
Yazdani, I'd like to say you have a beautiful home, and I'm not surprised that you know the architect because it's a beautiful home. And I also think it's a very symmetrical home. And the two trees just seem to frame it so beautifully. I'm sort of surprised that you're thinking taking one of them away, because I don't know. I just thought from the street, the two trees really frame the symmetrical home with the fountain and everything. And I do sympathize with the issue, but my problem with taking out the tree is that there's no sign at all that will solve your sewer problem. It sounds like what you have is a sewer problem, not a tree problem. So I'm very reluctant to take out a tree when it is very likely not the cause of the problem. And I'm very surprised that you have repeatedly had that cleaned out, and that no one has suggested replacing the line so that there aren't cracks that are attracting the roots. If you're having that done regularly, it can't be more expensive than just having that line properly replaced. I just don't think that taking out that tree is going to solve your sewer problem. It could be the tree on the other side for all we know.
That's what we're removing too.
Or a neighbor's tree, or a neighbor's tree.
Yeah,
It
I
could
just
be, it could
don't.
be any,
I
or
think
some combination thereof.
it would make me very sad to remove two trees and you still have sewer backups. It seems like we should do it in the reverse order. Fix the sewer line first, and then if there's no other alternative and you're still having problems, then I think I would be much more in favor of allowing you to remove the trees. I just am not at all convinced that removing the tree is going to solve your problem. We have all these experts here telling us, and Edie now telling us she had the same problem. And I know from my experience as a homeowner that, replacing old lines is not an unusual home maintenance issue, and it's not super expensive either.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I have had the same problem as well. My lot has a number of trees on it as well, and I've had many sewer backups. I do feel your pain.
I'm not alone. All of
You're
us
not
are
alone.
And you are arguing against moving the tree.
I don't know if it would be helpful to say, because we deal with this on a daily basis at the city. I mean, we have miles and miles of underground water and sewer lines. Do we see any trees coming out for those lines? No. We mechanically remove roots. Our dedicated water and sewer staff, that is part of their job description. It is a very common thing. And then we have a budget to reline the pipes, okay? That is what we do. We are a tree city. We value our trees. It's how we're all alive, how we're here breathing air. And that's how we handle it for city trees. And everybody else's roots who are in the lines, right? Because the majority of trees in the city limits are on private property. So when we go through and we mechanically clear those roots, and I wouldn't even want to fathom how much money it costs us, because how many miles, I don't know, 50 miles of underground lines probably at least, double because of water and sewer. It's just part of owning a home. We've all had our sewer lines blacked up. We've all had Rotorua or Sherman or Caswell out to clear them, and we've all paid the $700 bill for it. I mean, it's unfortunately part of owning a home with vegetation. Okay. If you have older lines, I will say.
I would like to just make the suggestion, and that I...
Mr. Chair, before you do, we typically go to the public to see if they
Okay.
want to speak. I don't know if Mr. Meredith wants, and his clients want to speak on this application, but just so the record's clear, you should
Okay,
give it opportunity.
I wasn't ready to
Okay.
do anything yet, but I can ask certainly if anyone in the public wants to weigh in on this. I didn't... Okay. I was going to ask, okay. But I guess the comment that I'm making, I mean, I think, I believe there's some sense of agreement here, maybe, among us, that thinking that it would be wise for you to pursue the sewer line repair in lieu of taking the tree out. And I would just say that certainly your experience is well documented. We certainly sympathize with your pain and the complications and all that. And I think we would, if in the event that would not work out, and you would come before us again, with the same tale of woe, I think we would certainly look favorably on you if we had to assess, a mitigation or something like that. So I'm just saying that if you have certainly proved, you would have certainly proved your point, but I'm prepared, I guess, for if there's any more.
Can I add a point?
Sure, go ahead.
The sewer is major problem that I have. Is driveway, the root of the tree is very obviously, you can see it in the picture there. It's pushing all the driveway coming out and is a hazard. And if I don't taking care of it every 2 years, that I have to remove the paver and put them back again, that's gonna be, the other issue. Same time, safety of these big branches falling down on the cars and damaging our cars. And if somebody's in the car, that's another issue on the top of it. You guys just look at the one point and the sewer, which is the main one. I understand that. But there is not only that, there is another issue right behind it.
Right.
There is another situation there. And as I said, I have no problem. You guys want me to pay for 10 more trees somewhere else or in the property, I will do that. Money is not the object here. Fixing the sewer is not the object. The things that you guys need to understand is a health, safety, and, prevention for the future that is going to be not only me going to be liable, you guys going to be liable for it too. I'll put everybody on the record that if something going to happen, is going to be all of us going to be in it.
Well, I'm just saying there's
And with that, you can make your decision because you are very well had been awarded and had been given the chance to take action. But which way you choose to go is going to be eventually fall back to the whomever have to fall back.
Okay, well, I mean, it's very difficult to predict the future when it comes to
Of course,
what a tree's going to do.
But when it happens, it happens.
Yeah.
I have two comments, sir. The paver issue, we have pavers at our home too. As I said, we just live a block or two from you. And every couple years, we have to have the pavers picked up and resurfaced because of tree roots. I mean, we look at it as part of the living.
I have to live with that tree. I mean, tell me that. Why should I move it every year and do that? That's unacceptable, that you telling me every year I have to spend money for where I know where. I mean, if I have a cancer, I'll go to the doctor and tell them to remove the cancer.
I'm not arguing with you. I'm just sharing, if you wish to hear. And the other thing is that we spend a couple $1,000s a year, Jim and I, on having our trees trimmed, having all the dead
Do I need a permission for trim them?
No. We have the, I'm saying trimming the dead branches out so that there isn't as an issue about perhaps falling. I'm just letting you know that just like you, I think, you are prepared because you love your home and you love your place to deal with the maintenance issues. And we all know by living in this tree environment.
After this meeting, I'm gonna dig into the, our permits and all of the, the original submissions for redoing when they rebuild the house. If I find out that, we did change the sewer line, based on that, that time, because I was a very busy man with a 700 employee all over the United States. I have to travel a lot. I was not there when they built the house. My wife was involved. But I'm a civil engineer, construction manager. If I'm going to pull the, all the thing and come back, that we did change the sewer line, and whatever we are talking about here, it was not initiated anything regarding the changing the line or go and do that. If that was happened, then what's going to be the decision on that. Should I bring it back again to the attention that we change the soil line? What are you going to do
I
then?
think in the Arborist report, it was mentioned that there was no record of it being
But I'm going to put it
replaced.
out, I
Okay.
mean, I have to do my
Okay,
own research.
that would be an amendment to all the information we have before us.
Right.
And we would perhaps reconsider at that time, but based on the information we have before us, that's a very old line from the sewer to your home. And we have to go on the information that we have before us. And honestly, I'm very sorry for the amount of upset that you're experiencing, and I understand it. But I would like to move that we deny this request. And I'm sorry to do so, but I think that this is a tree growing on city property that's just doing its own thing as a tree. And I don't think there is not significant information in the record for us to agree to remove this tree. So
Don't worry, I'll get the information from
Okay.
the original build-out, and I'm gonna bring it in, and I'm gonna have all the drawing and the plan. I'm sure I can pull it out, from my contractor and bring it back. If it has been done when, on the time of and a new line had been set up, then you guys have to, reconsider your decision in that time.
So at this point, there's a motion on the table. You'll need a second chair, and the case has been submitted, so all the discussion should be up here at this point.
I'll second.
Okay.
And I second this because I think that I, again, sympathize greatly with Mr. Yazdani and his problems. But I think, too, we're looking at this as an iterative process, that the sewer is most likely the first point of contention. And once that is resolved, if there is still, or if there are still issues, then perhaps we need to reconsider with that new information. But I think that jumping to the removal of one or both trees at this point is too much. Let's take it in an iterative process. So I second based on those
And
comments.
if they are.
At this
know
point,
that
at this
it
point,
was
it's submitted,
done,
and only this group can talk. I'm sorry. At this point, it's submitted.
If I prove it that it was done, properly on that time, and still I have a problem, is the city is gonna pay for the cost that I'm incurring between now and then?
No, you'll resubmit another application, and you'll be back at this process, and the commission will have an opportunity to consider it again. But at this point, okay, you've got a motion, a second. You guys should vote and decide the matter.
Okay. So,
I vote to deny the permit.
I vote to deny the permit.
I vote to deny the permit at this point.
and the chair votes to deny. But again, I think our recommendation basically is to take care of the repair, and then if there's still a situation after that point, then, come back to see us.
What is your position?
Sure, I'm the city attorney.
City attorney. Okay.
Okay.
Do you have a business card?
I don't have one with me right now. I apologize for that. But you can find me on the website.
All right, because I need to contact my attorney to contact you.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much.
We sympathize. Thank you.
Can I have your business card, sir, by any chance? So I can remove trim the trees, right?
Liz, what's the-
Legally, you can trim what overhangs your property to the point where it does not destroy, damage, disfigure the tree.
Okay. On to item number 3. Okay, case number 3 has been requested by Jeff Meredith of Sussex Tree on behalf of Jemile Bertot. Do I have that anywhere close at all? Appreciate it. Owner of the property located at 138 Henlopen Avenue pursuant to Section 253-12C of the Municipal Code, and pertains to the removal of one juniper street tree located along an unapproved right-of-way adjacent to 138 Henlopen Avenue. Okay, and I will have Liz Lingo, the city arborist, recite her report.
The following is the report of the city arborist with regard to the above referenced request that is to be heard before the commission on Monday, March 28, 2022. The applicant has submitted a request to remove 1 8-inch diameter juniper street tree in good condition located along an unimproved right-of-way adjacent to 138 Henlopen Avenue. On December 1st, 2021, a completed tree permit application was submitted to Building and Licensing related to the construction of a new home. The tree permit was partially approved for the removal of 11 trees requiring a permit, totaling 53 inches of mitigation met by existing trees. There were 4 trees requested for removal that were not approved, including the tree located on city property that is the subject of today's request. In the tree removal permit site plan, it was made clear that the city tree removal was not permitted. In addition, at an inspection on December 23rd, the assistant building inspector recommended the driveway be slightly angled to avoid the tree. At the final inspection, March 9th, it was found that there was an additional protected tree removed without a permit. As such, a fine and replanting requirement were issued as of the date of this report, which was March 11th. These had not been resolved. In addition to those 2 requirements, the new home must have an accessible driveway. In order to obtain a certificate of occupancy, the driveway must either be angled as initially suggested or the tree must be removed. As per City Code, Parks and Shade Tree Commission has authority to permit the removal of street trees, 253.12 maintenance C. No person shall plant, spray, preserve, prune, remove, cut above ground, or otherwise disturb any tree on any street or municipal property without first receiving permission from the Parks and Shade Tree Commission. Any tree removed from municipal property must be replaced unless otherwise authorized by the Parks and Shade Tree Commission.
Okay. Anybody have any comments or questions for Liz?
I have 2, Liz. Do all the issues listed here in your report have to be resolved for their certificate of occupancy to be granted?
Yes, and they have, if you note the date on the report, it is March 11th. They have paid the fine and they have submitted a replanting plan, but I have not been informed that it was done to re-inspect it. It may be, and they haven't let us know. But the applicant was in communication about the trees to be replanted.
My other question is, your report talks about an 8-inch diameter juniper tree, but when I look at the removal application, it's talking about a red cedar. Is there?
It's the same
Same?
thing. Yeah, Eastern red cedar, juniper,
Okay.
juniper,
All right, I wanted
virginianus.
just to make sure.
Yep.
Thank you for the clarification.
So the only thing we're really talking about, I mean, is pertaining to the tree at the end of the driveway, so to speak.
Yeah, so they have to be able to connect to the hard surface in order for it to meet the 2 required parking spaces. So those are the 2 options. They either slightly adjust their parking or they take out the tree.
Okay. All right. I'm just trying to, throwing in the business about the tree the removal in violation, that we're not dealing with that at all. Right?
Nope, that's been dealt with.
I assumed that.
Yeah, but you guys get the full picture of, you know, building permits, anything else that's going on, everything that's relevant to the property shows up in this report.
Okay.
Has it been determined, and maybe we don't have to know, who removed that tree and when that happened and how that happened, or maybe it's not part of our information?
I know why, but it wasn't a licensed tree contractor, so it was related to other issues on the property where a sub had to come back and relocate something, and it was in their way. And at that point, here's why the orange fencing is an important one. At that point, the orange fencing had been removed because they were done with the house. So it didn't have that stop, stay away feature to it anymore.
Well, let me.
Thank you.
Yeah, questions? Okay. Just open it up to you, or who wants to?
I did prepare a statement, so if you don't mind, I'll just.
Okay, sure.
So Mr. Chair and members of the Parks and Shade Tree Commission, thank you for the opportunity to provide additional information in support of the appeal and for volunteering to serve on this important commission. My name is Jemile Bertot, and my family has owned our home at 138 Henlopen for over 25 years. We made the very emotional decision to rebuild and worked on a design that we think fits well within Rehoboth and helps to preserve Rehoboth's character. The building process has not been easy, especially because of the pandemic supply issues, but construction on the house has been completed, and we would very much like to move into the house. Frankly, the landscaping has been the most difficult aspect for me personally. It took months to finally get the driveway and walkway pavers installed. I started working with a landscaping company in June 2021. The landscape company installed the driveway pavers in December according to the plan that was approved by the City of Rehoboth as part of the permitting process. It turns out that the small cedar that was marked to stay is blocking access to the driveway. The tree has a very low canopy that spreads several feet. I did not know that the tree would affect the driveway from the design until it was installed. And the city's review didn't mention this either, at the time that they approved the design. In addition, and this is where we get into, during construction, it appears that one of the subcontractors removed a dogwood that was marked to stay. No one contacted me to request approval to remove the tree, and frankly, I was upset by its loss. For your info, we currently have a number of trees on our property to include a 15-inch hickory, 2 20-inch oak trees, 2 18-inch oak trees, and a 6-inch holly, and 2 3-inch sassafras. I've already ordered 3 redbuds with 3.5 to 4-inch calipers and 2 American hollies that will be 12 to 13 feet high, to be delivered Wednesday and planted soon after. As you can imagine, the cost to build this house has been substantial, especially with the pandemic supply issues. And the cost for the 5 trees is several $1,000s. I mean, we're talking around $8,000 for those 5 trees. We have already paid the $500 fine, as Liz mentioned, for the mistakenly removed tree. I wanted to just let you know what I've been thinking of for additional plantings. My goal is to create a habitat for wildlife, pollinators, and beneficial insects using native plantings. My vision is for the front of the property to feature plantings for pollinators and the back to be more for wildlife, especially birds. I've contacted a landscape designer to realize my goal and to hopefully plant this fall. The landscape designer is in high demand and can't start working on my project until June. In the meantime, for the certificate of occupancy to be issued by the City of Rehoboth, the issue is the small red cedar just over the property line on city property, blocking access to the approved driveway. And that's why I'm requesting the authority to remove it. I hope that if you approve removing the cedar, that the planting of the 5 trees will mitigate both trees. Thank you for your consideration.
Okay.
Okay, I'll just say a few little things. I'm Jeff Meredith, Sussex Tree, certified arborist. Quite a few know me on the board. But anyway, for her to move that driveway, I'm sure you all went and looked at where the tree is. It would be a nightmare as far as her being able to catty-corner that for her to get into that new driveway. So that's all I have to say basically about it. I mean,
How
wrote
far
it.
is the driveway, is that the end of it now, or are you planning on extending it?
Here's the picture I took yesterday.
Right, but I mean,
they want to extend
We're
it.
not allowed to, I believe,
Can't.
the city, because the city property starts. So the driveway pavers start on our
right,
property.
okay.
And
was
I,
just-
and I don't understand angling it because it just doesn't make too much sense to me, to be really honest. I'm not happy about this, but I just don't see any other way around this.
Yeah.
I don't understand how the pavers got put in without the tree permit. That's confusing to me.
Well, you can see on the approved site plan, actually what got installed is different than what was originally approved. And that's not that unusual in terms of they actually made a reduction in the amount of impervious, so it would be a good thing. But we also have to keep in mind that these surveys, when we do, so-and-so goes out to survey the site, that tree trunk could be off by a few inches, which is why I specifically made that note that it may not be removed and it's on city property, just so this situation could have been avoided, basically. And that's part of our review process, right? When somebody brings in the building plans and we look and we say, okay, well, your front walkway is over top of a 12-inch dogwood, so can you move it over a foot or route it around it? That's how we handle it internally. And little things do change. Like if you notice from the approved site plan, the front walkway changed as well. They have plenty of coverage, so it didn't, those type of changes aren't structural. They don't have to be re-reviewed by the building and licensing department.
I'm very concerned about having having pervious surfaces, so that's why, we made the driveway with the strips, so not to do that and have it all be concrete. We used permeable pavers, and so, to make sure that the drainage was there.
The thing I don't understand is the report said you should angle this driveway. Was that considered, or?
No, the report came out after the driveway was installed. So we installed the driveway. They came out in December to do an inspection. We hoped it was the final inspection, and then they came out with, we had to move the propane tank, which was done, and then they suggested angling the driveway. I personally don't visualize that. I don't know how you would do that without having to trim a lot of the branches off the tree. I don't know. I'll leave that to Mr. Meredith, but I just don't see where that's a viable option at this point.
Liz, do you have any comment on how, was there clear communication with the property owner about this? It's just so confusing that you would have the pavers already in when clearly that tree has a thing around it and nobody should have built there. I don't understand what happened here.
As to why a contractor would install that drive, because you got to think when they lay it out, they're going to line it up somehow, string and spray paint or something, right? Why they did that, I can't get in the mindset of whatever subcontractor that was. But you also have to keep in mind when people submit permits to us, it's typically the contractor submitting the permit, the GC, right? The general contractor. And then he'll have multiple subs on site, a plumber. In this case, I think they said their landscaper did it, whoever it may be. So more than likely, the general contractor just didn't inform them. And why the GC would see that and accept it, I can't tell you. Because it makes no sense to me either. Because if I laid that out and saw that, I'd say, we need to figure something else out. I don't know. I don't have an answer for that one.
Liz?
I just want to say that I really appreciate you coming and explaining what happened, and I feel really badly that there wasn't better communication, but that seems to be between your contractor and you, because, we have a record that the city protected that tree. So I'm finding it just confusing that you've been waiting so long for this.
I don't know what to say other than I think, the way it was approved by the city, and yes, that tree was marked to stay, but the way it's ended up being, it's just too close to the driveway. So even if we angle the driveway, we'd have to trim, as far as I know, most of the branches on that side to get a vehicle in. So yeah, we can angle the driveway to avoid the trunk of the tree, but that doesn't help the low canopy tree. So I don't know what else to say. We're in this situation. I would really like to move into the house. And I think, and maybe some of you can explain to me, I understand you want parking on the street in front of people's residences now, because the way we used to park was just pull in.
But you have to provide 2 spaces.
We have to provide two spaces. So, right. And then you want the area in front of the house to be available for public street parking, is that correct? So if we angle this driveway, you're not going to end up with that, because it's going to end up, I don't know, the city's thought process, in all of this, so.
As I see it, I guess, and I'm just trying to figure this out. Clearly, a mistake was made, or whether it was intentional or not intentional, I don't know. That's something we could argue over or whatever. But clearly, you have a driveway set up, and you can't pull into it because there's a tree in front of it. So either is it our responsibility to try to fix that? That's what it kind of sounds like to me, that we're here to do, or I'm just saying in terms of our decision of this is either we I feel like the city's in the right here. You got a problem, but the city's in the right. But the question is, are we being appealed to try to fix it? And so I'm just trying to figure out what that means. And I'm appreciative of the fact that you're offering something up that you're willing to attempt to mitigate it. To replace this tree with some other action and so forth and so on. The question is, does that really fulfill the, what the ordinance tries to do? We're trying to, my whole thing is, we have the city, we have the trees, we have a neighborhood called the Pines. I know a juniper isn't actually a pine, it kind of is, and I don't want it to be, it used to be the Pines, that's what we're trying to, we're sort of on the preservation side of this thing, so. So I sort of open it up to the rest of you.
If I could, the other thing is I walked the whole neighborhood and everybody has
Right,
straight driveways, and so, and that was what the plan was, that it would be a straight driveway from the street.
Yeah,
to the
I don't really
house.
know.
And that's what was
I don't really
approved.
understand, maybe I would have been helpful, but how was it supposed to be? Or how was it just supposed to be over farther? Was it have like a little S curve to it, or what would it go?
I think, the design was it would be a straight shot, and, just because of the way of the design of the house, the pavers were put, where they would, and then that's how it ended up,
Right.
going toward
And
the
it
street.
was over in front of it.
And it just ended up where it ended up being, where the tree unfortunately is now in the way. So it was done in a straight line the way it was designed originally and approved. So, and I guess it's just me visually, I don't know how angling it would work and affect the parking on the street that you're trying to create for, especially people who go to the farmer's market, et cetera. They all park on our
Right,
street.
for the-
So you're going to lose, and then my other concern is then if that's what's done, then the driveway gets blocked all the time because, people will try parking in that. I don't know. Anyway.
I have a question for Liz and my fellow commissioners. Do we ever recommend moving a tree instead of taking it down? If the root ball is of
Can it be
reasonable
transplanted?
size,
I don't
do we ever, I don't know this, I'm just asking you folks.
I don't know.
It would be very hard to move that tree.
Would it be, okay.
Yeah,
You
plus I don't know what's underneath the ground right where that is. It's liable to be utilities and everything else.
You'd be easier replanting.
Yes.
Okay, just
mean,
a
I-
question.
Yeah.
I could get one
Just a
about
question.
12 to 15 foot tall and put it in the back. That's not a problem.
Well, and we're already putting 3 red buds and 2 hollies
Yeah.
that are going to be substantial trees. These are, like I said, we're putting a huge investment, and I love trees, so don't get me wrong. That's why I want red buds and the 2 hollies. There'll be female hollies with berries, so, that's what, my goal is. So I just would like to be able to, park the cars in a straight line to the, and the driveway to the house.
It does look like the one, here's a picture I
that's
took
all.
yesterday,
Yeah.
and this goes right up to the house. So
Yeah.
I took that picture yesterday.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So, can I ask, Liz, can you envision a sort of a mitigating scenario if a tree is if a tree is replaced or supplies or planted somewhere? Would that, or like how might that be in the event that we let's just say we're not dealing with the driveway situation, but just merely the property owner, wants to remove a tree that's in the city right away and pay for another tree or something like that. Like, we've done that before, certainly.
See, I don't think it's fair to do that because we went through this review process.
Yeah, okay.
And if it was, say, like the shrub in the way, like the earlier case, and it was just a tree and that's the best spot we have, then it might be a little different. And to be clear, this is they could have put the driveway on either side. I think tree-wise, it's probably a break even. I mean, you can see the site plan of the ones that were approved for removal. They were smaller dogwoods versus a larger hickory. But it would be comparable. It wasn't to the point where we would ask them to flip the house plan if it was the other way around, so to speak. So really the question, I mean, they have to be able to get to the driveway. They are allowed to go across city property. Where that goes across city property doesn't really matter because it'll be the same width in terms of like increasing or decreasing street parking. That's not a huge concern either way. And just so you guys know, you are allowed to you can apply for a permit to put your pavers, your wheel tracks going out to the street if you wish. That's not a prohibited thing. But I do want to make it clear that I think the applicant said the word appeal. This is not an appeal, okay? Because this is a city tree. It's just a request for in a case. And then also that their replanting requirements are completely separate from anything you decide here today. So you may take into account that they have X amount of trees on the lot and are planting X amount, but that has no bearing on the city, like on the permit requirements and the tree replanting. So it's totally up to you guys on that.
Wait, we can require them to plant more trees than they're already planting, or?
The trees that they're planting are required, okay, from the city.
From other trees that because they already had 11 trees removed.
However many.
The dogwood that
Yes.
the subcontractor
okay.
removed without telling
Yes.
us and asking my permission. So, and we're more than happy to put those 5 trees in, and they're trees. that
Okay,
I-
but this is a separate one.
Well, I
Yes.
think you could make it part of it if
No.
No?
No,
Okay, what-
those
okay.
those
Okay.
inches have to be planted to satisfy the violation on the property. You guys can say, well, you know what, they got enough trees, that's fine, but I can't count those as part of that.
But can we require another tree?
Yeah, it says any tree removed,
That's what I was asking is.
any tree removed
Do a
must
fee,
be
right?
replaced unless you otherwise authorize it. So you can require X amount of trees, X size, X species, location.
Or a fee in lieu of mitigation, is that correct?
No, well, this is not on private property, so it's a little different.
Can I make a comment about this? I am the landscape designer that they have contacted. The very busy landscape designer, landscape architect that they have talked to. And, you know, I think that angling the driveway would be a very difficult thing to do. I don't personally believe that that one particular juniper is adding a huge amount to the property. I believe it could be replanted, or not that particular one, but another juniper could be replanted somewhere else on the property, and it would be much nicer and be more beneficial to the wildlife that they are trying to promote. And when I spoke with the homeowners, her initial comment was that they wanted to do the native garden, keep all the trees that they had on the property, or as many as could be kept. At the time, we did not discuss that one particular tree. But it just seems to me that it would be reasonable to allow them to remove that trees so that they could just have a straight shot to their driveway. So that's my opinion about the whole situation.
Well, I'm just trying to establish what the potential options are, if we have the potential options in either a mitigating scenario or a replacement tree scenario or a combination of both, and where is the city right away in play with some other plantings? I mean, is that? I mean, obviously it's been paved out with the crusher run or whatever it is, but could that be opened up for some more tree planting that would be to effectively try to replace that tree?
That would be up to the GSIM property owner. The city doesn't do that work. I mean, I think we were.
I'm just saying, you would have to, whatever it would be, you'd have to approve it, right? So I'm just.
Well, no, not necessarily. I mean,
It was on city property?
well, you guys would be authorizing it today if you
Well,
required
I just want to
replacements.
know what's possible. I'm not proposing.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not proposing anything at this point. I'm
I
just saying.
mean, they would have to. I don't remember. I'm assuming the gravel starts close to the property line.
It does.
We need about 12 feet. Usually, we like that 12-foot width, somewhere in that 10 to 12-foot width for street parking.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how wide it is.
When Henlopen, I mean, you have like a pretty wide street, and then you have the city portion of it, or,
Yeah.
in front of the house that in some cases it's grass, it's all kinds of stuff, some of them I think are even paved, but there's no I'm just saying there's no standard thing that currently exists. That's all I'm saying.
Well, there is a standard enforced, yes.
Yeah,
what
right.
pre-exists
Yeah,
from
right, right.
1960.
Well,
We
that's
can't,
what I'm saying. Yeah,
we don't
but
force people
you
to change.
see a lot of variation.
Yeah.
But so I'm just trying to establish some of that conceivably is even though it's an apron in the front of the house, it's not necessarily there for parking. I mean, you can park on the street, can't you? I mean, without even being on the gravelly part?
No,
No.
not
Can't at
enough
all?
room.
No, it's all gravel.
Especially with all the bicycles that go down the street.
Yeah.
Okay, but I thought the street was wide enough that.
It is really wide, but
Yeah.
it gets a lot of use.
Yeah.
I mean, they have to be parked off the road, or else you would get a ticket, or at least asked to move.
Off the pavement, right?
Yeah, off the paved surface, not one tire, 1 inch on that pavement.
I'd just like to say that this whole situation really troubles me because I feel like we're being asked, like it's like, go ahead and do it and then ask forgiveness rather than asking permission. And it says right on the document that we have, cedar tree may not be removed, and it says approved as noted right on the document that we have in front of us. And I think you should be really upset with your contractor because they didn't do what was approved.
The only comment I will make, yeah, you're correct in that. The only comment I will make, though, is if they did angle it to avoid the trunk of the tree, it doesn't avoid the canopy of the tree. So, we'd still have to trim all the branches.
Yeah, but that's a
to get in
decision
there.
you made to go ahead and do it without solving the problem that's indicated on your plan. It's like, what is the point of us having a review process if people go ahead and do, or
All
their
I can say
contractors go ahead and do, kind of whatever they want?
All I can say is, yes, the tree is there. Yes, the driveway was approved by the city, going a straight shot out. So it's unfortunate that the tree ended up being, kind of in the way, and it is. So, yeah, I'm sorry. I mean, if I had known this earlier, I would have requested or done something different, but we're at the point now where I can't do that. So I don't know what the solution is. I mean, I would like to move into the house. So, and that's just kind of where we are. I mean, we need to get into that driveway. I would personally have been fine parking the way we always did, but the requirement now is to have these driveways with 2 spaces. So, You know, I'm not trying to force anybody into a decision, but this is the reality and where we are right now.
I believe that we should probably make our decision based on the information that we see. That being said, you know, you're welcome to base your decision on, you know, on the other, you know, I guess basically what I'm saying is it has happened, and it is not, it does not seem to me that it's truly the homeowner's fault, that it seems like it's more the contractor's fault. So I think we need to base this on what will
Solve the problem.
on the best outcome for the homeowners in this situation.
I'd like to move that we approve this tree removal, but I would like to state for the record that it is the homeowner's responsibility to make sure that the contractor is following the plans that they've provided. And if that requires calling the city arborist and checking in to be sure that everything's been met, that going forward, I am not going to be agreeing to rectifying problems created by a contractor, because otherwise we're going to have people building any old way and not following their building plan and expecting us to fix it afterwards. And that is not something that I am in support of. But I think in this case, you've worked really hard, and I happened to have spoken with your neighbor yesterday, and she's all for taking out that tree. And I just think that you've been put in a very bad position, and that contractors should be on notice going forward that this is not acceptable.
Before, I don't want to entertain a second yet. I just want to be clear, and I'd like to know what.
Mitigation.
I just want to know how Edie feels about this. But before that, I'm just trying to establish. Well, let me hear what your thoughts are. But
Well, I think we're giving a blessing to something that we shouldn't bless, because it's exactly what Laura said. The plans were here, and I absolutely feel your pain. But it was in black and white. And what we're doing is if we do this, we are perhaps setting a precedent, which Laura just mentioned, which is if somebody makes a mistake, the builder does and doesn't communicate well with the homeowner, then we're asked to say, okay.
Glenn, could you comment on the precedent thing? Because I think in the past, you've said each thing is individual. And
Sure. Let me comment on a couple of things. First, there's a motion on the table, and it sounds like you're deliberating before you get a second. So either the motion should be withdrawn as a matter of
Okay, I
parliamentary
withdraw my
procedure.
motion.
Okay, so we're clear there. So one thing about property and decisions made on property, it's sort of like the Board of Adjustment does. You know, every case that comes before that board and every case that comes before this board is a different case. The land, they say, is sui generis, which means it's all different. There's no two properties are the same. So no precedent is established, no legal precedent is established by making the decision here today. What is established, though, is somebody's going to come in and say, you did that last time. So legally, it's not binding. So if you get in a court of law, no court's going to say you have to do this for property number 2 because you did it for property number 1. So a judge will never say that. But you will be challenged by future applicants. It happens over and over. You know, applicants will learn about previous cases, and they'll come and say, you did this before, why won't you do it for me? That's the only risk you run, is by you're put in that kind of situation. But again, there's no legal binding precedent. The other thing I wanted to address is Liz said earlier that this is not an appeal, and she's correct. Typically, today was a little bit different because all the trees were street trees, city trees. So the provision of the code that deals with city trees gives you all a lot of discretion. You're able to do what you want, basically. You can take it out, or remove the tree for any reason or for no reason at all. Whereas in the case of private property, you're given 7 discrete scenarios where it has to fit one of those boxes for her to be able to issue a permit, or for you to be able to issue a permit on an appeal. So in an appeal, you have less discretion. You have to tie it to one of those 7 reasons allowed for in the code. Here on a city tree, it's completely discretionary. You can remove it or not remove it based upon the facts that are presented.
Okay. I'd like to at least express my thoughts before maybe we entertain another motion or whatever. And I think I feel as strongly as you. Maybe you're a little stronger, but anyway, figure that out. But I just look at this as I think it's great. I think it is black and white. I think it's kind of a ridiculous situation, but we find ourselves in a ridiculous situation. And I think what would be as ridiculous, if not more ridiculous, is to have a driveway that goes like that, or some other kind of goofy thing, in order to we're here where we are. So I'm hoping that, and what Glenn is saying is that, can we come up with an accommodation that is not like a giveaway, that the property owner comes up with some kind of offering that tries to rectify this mistake, or however you want to do it, and hopefully that's what I was sort of fishing for with Liz. Is there an accommodation? Is there a way to kind of carve something out that we can make it? It's a crappy situation, but the notion, I just think, if the final end product is a driveway doing this or whatever, is going to, people are going to point at it and go laugh at it and that kind of stuff. So I don't know what that is. And I don't know how to frame this.
If I could, I would really like to have a design and have additional trees and things and plant it in the fall when it's a better time to plant.
Right, okay.
Planting these 5 trees now, to me, is not the best time of year to do it, but I'm doing it because of
Right.
that dogwood that was
And that's, I guess my question is.
Yeah, so I would love to sit down with, and do a really nice design, have some dogwoods put in, and other, other shrubs that will, for wildlife, for birds. So I want to do that, and I plan on doing that, but I was hoping to kind of wait until we have a proper design. I'm having to put in these 3 red buds and 2 hollies now before we even have a design for the property, so.
I think there are some nuts and bolts in a scenario such as that. There would be some, deliberating, negotiating, but just coming up with sort of a plan that hopefully, Liz could somehow approve. And I guess I'm asking this to Glenn, if we sort of come up with like some kind of a conditional decision yet to be determined, is that possible to do that, or do we?
It makes her job really difficult, Mr. Chair. She'd much rather come out of here with a decision that is concrete. Here's what the applicant has to do to mitigate. But I think your question's one that's worth seeing if Liz can help a little bit as to if should they allow for this tree to be removed. Is there some form of mitigation that you think would be appropriate? And I do think it's fine that certainly you can say planting doesn't have to happen until the proper planting season.
That's where I disagree with you. In order to obtain that CO, all conditions have to be met, which includes all tree plantings. So they will not have the luxury of a year or 2 years to have a design and replant. It'll have to be met in order for the building official to give that CO. Because once we give that CO,
there's no way to enforce it.
Yeah, that's how it works. That's how you get your CO. That's why we never have a problem with the new home construction planting their trees.
So could we do a fee in lieu of mitigation, the $600 fee that you've done in the past? I mean, I'm just, I want to plant more trees, but I'd like to do it in in a nice design.
Liz, it's not indicated the size of the cedar on the plan.
It is on the plant. It's small.
8-inch.
It's small.
Yeah, I thought it was 8 inches, but I couldn't find it on the document.
It's on her report.
My report,
Oh,
so I
okay.
measured it 1 inch different than what's actually on the survey, which was done 2 years ago. So, makes sense.
Well, can we specify a tree of a certain size be included somewhere or
I mean, yeah, typically you guys will just say has to be replaced with X amount of trees of this tree, the size. And usually you leave the species up to me, which you just have a list of native
can we
species.
specify a large canopy tree?
Yeah.
Somewhere.
Given that the whole plan is still in play and they'd have to plant that large tree before they could even occupy the house, why don't we consider a fee in lieu of mitigation? Like she suggests, we can make it a high fee because they put in that walkway, and that would send a message that this isn't appropriate and it should be higher than $600 because we did that for when it wasn't in violation of the building plan. So maybe a little higher and let it go, and then she could have her plan do it the way she wants.
I agree with that, Laura. I think that a fee would be a good idea in this situation so that taking into account what they hope to achieve with their property, I think that would be the most reasonable.
If I could, I mean, this house is really costing us a lot, and I'm putting in $8,000 worth of trees now. So, I mean, I think the $600, frankly, if we could stick to that would be really helpful. Because, I mean, the bills have piled up, and seriously, these trees are costing a lot because we're putting in, like I said, these 2 hollies that are really 12 to 13 feet high, and then these 3 red buds. So, we're putting quite a few, and there are already a lot of trees on the property. So, anyway,
Glenn, can I ask you, because what they're referring to, the fee in lieu of mitigation, is actually contained in Article 2, which addresses private property.
Right, so the fee in lieu of mitigation generally, it appears, as Liz says, in this section that provides for private property mitigation of trees. Again, we're talking here today about city trees, and the code doesn't specifically provide for fee in lieu of mitigation for a city tree. What I would comment, Liz, is that I don't recall whether the commission's ever allowed it for a city tree, a fee in lieu of mitigation. But I do think, again, because you're in a discretionary role here, I don't think you run afoul of the code if you choose to do a fee in lieu.
or the other
I'm
thing
not
is
sure
to
if
allow one of the
if we've
trees-
allowed it before. I can't think of a case in my mind that we have allowed it, but
Could one of the trees that I'm planting be considered to mitigate the cedar, and then the other 4 to mitigate the dogwood?
Which you already said
no,
you
as I
can't do
said
that.
earlier, that's not possible as per the code. You guys can eliminate the planting requirement and not follow 253.12. You can say we authorize it not to be replaced, but they can't count for double.
I'd like to say that now that Glenn has pointed out that, excuse me,
Lower? You want to go with 6?
It's better to plant in the fall than now.
I'd like to say that now that Glenn has cleared something up that I did not know, which is that there's no legal precedent that we would be setting, then I'm feeling comfortable about a fee of some sort or a different decision. Let's say a different decision, because I too look at this picture and say, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But how did it get that way? I don't know how much to focus on how did it get that way. I think we've all agreed that there was miscommunication between the property owner and her contractor, but I'm willing to vote in favor of some other solution.
Okay, here we go. I think it sounds like we're all in favor. It sounds like we're all in favor of a fee in lieu of mitigation. So I think the question is going to be how much. I do understand your pain because I've had some construction going on myself, and it's
I'm just saying, consider the alternative. I think we're trying to remedy this.
I would like to approve removal of the tree with a fee of $1,000, which I hope will send a message to people to be more cognizant of whether their plan is being followed properly. I'm sorry it's so high, and I understand your pain, but I just can't see us going against the documents that we have before us that show that cedar was supposed to be preserved. It would just not sit well with me.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
I think the fee should be a bit lower, but I mean, if that would send a message to other contractors,
What do you think the fee should be?
maybe $700 or $800.
I think 1,000 sounds right, but can we call this a fee in lieu of mitigation, since it's not on private property? I mean, I wasn't sure.
You can.
Can we, because you said that was very specific legal language for.
That's where it's called out in the
within
code. I think, though, that because that's something that's sort of in line with what you do in the case of appeals, you can still kind of transfer that language over to a city tree and still call it a fee in lieu of mitigation. So to be clear, the motion then would be that the tree could be removed. There would be no mitigation other than a fee. So there wouldn't be any new plantings. There'd be a fee of $1,000 under the motion.
They pay $1,000 and they can get their certificate of occupancy and move in.
I think we probably would have to re-inspect the property one more time, but yeah. It'd be up to the building inspector.
And if my fellow commissioners think that a lesser fee is really what the three of you feel, I will certainly go along with that. I'm not trying to be a hard nose. But I agreed with your sentiment in making the motion, and I wanted to second it to get it on the floor so we could discuss it.
Okay.
So it's up to my fellow commissioners as to how you feel.
You want to go with $850? I think 1,000 sounds like a decent amount that if other people see that it costs $1,000, if you do this, they might think twice before they do this.
It's somewhat punitive. I mean, a somewhat
It's kind of
punitive
mean.
action. I mean, in essence, without being horrible.
Well, unfortunately, it's punitive to the owners and not the contractors who are doing this, and they don't care if it's thousands. I mean, I'm just saying.
Have you
they
already
don't-
paid them? Can you subtract it?
No, I can't. I mean, we need to move on, and so.
I will say, think of it this way: if you were to replant a 7 or 8 inch tree, you'd be
Right.
close to $10,000 probably
for
to
one-
buy one and have it installed in the nursery.
For one
So-
for one tree.
$1,000 probably gets you close, maybe a 3-inch tree planted nicely.
I'm paying for that.
Outright.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Like I said,
you're actually giving them a deal. They're removing an 8-inch tree and only having to put essentially, and don't forget, they don't have any of the care or the maintenance associated with said tree, like if it was going on their property, which, you know, you plant a tree for $1,000 and it's going to cost you another $1,000 before it dies and then a few thousand to remove it. So
Okay, I'm satisfied with the motion as stated.
Okay, I put it to a
My
vote.
second stance then.
Yeah, okay. What's your vote?
I vote to approve my motion.
I vote to approve as well, based on the comments we've made.
I vote to approve
Very good.
Approve.
I approve as well. It's unanimous. Okay.
We do get things done unanimously.
Well, it's a
Even
group
with a
thing.
random member.
Right.
thank
I'm
you.
sorry about this, but we're just trying to come up with a
Oh,
solution. and
absolutely, I
hopefully,
understand. It's
I mean-
a
And
difficult
honestly, people
situation.
do things without, it just can't be allowed because contractors don't pay much attention at all.
And you can have a little sit down with your contractor.
And you will be able to move in.
Yeah,
This way, you
yeah.
will be able to move in.
No, I mean, that's the goal here, so thank you.
And we do wish you all the best in your new home.
Yeah.
Yes, and
yeah.
I did speak with your neighbor yesterday, and she said that you had even shown her the plans for your home, and, so I know that, and I noticed that you have pillars, because I used to be on the Architectural Review Committee, and they look so much nicer than columns, so I think your home actually does what you
lovely.
said, and fit in with the architecture of the community, and I do appreciate that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
Done.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
That was a hard one.
Yeah, I know.
It's
It
hard
was-
to punish the person least
I just-
responsible
I
for the
felt bad
problem.
having to do this. I mean, especially given my, what I enjoy from having a garden and having landscaping. so.
I need to,
Oh, we have to
as far as I know, there's no other business. I did want to make one small statement, and this is just for a future meeting. We'll discuss it, but from our last meeting where we had the issue, I don't know if you recall, with the Bradford pear tree that we approved and so forth. And I'll just share that I had a brief conversation with Susan Gay, Commissioner Susan Gay, regarding the upcoming review or continuing review that they're doing on the the tree ordinance and so forth, and expressed to her that I think that this is those kinds of situations with these Bradford pears as we move along will continue, and I think that the city needs to come up with some kind of a sort of a plan that maybe would prevent those from coming before us if we have like sort of a prescribed issue, like under certain circumstances, the city's going to do X and that kind of thing. It's yet to be sort of determined. That we can certainly provide input on or everything, but I just foresee that we're going to be, I think ultimately the life cycle, you tell me, the life cycle of those trees are probably, they're in the midst of it, you know.
City trees, though, and so the
Some-
city's responsible for pruning them. So
Right.
they shouldn't be a danger, and they shouldn't be falling down. I mean, I know,
Well, sometimes they blow over. I mean, it really depends on the root structure and that other kind of stuff.
From what I read, because I read the last video, I saw the
Yeah.
last videos. From what I remember about the discussion, Liz shared with us that the viable lifespan of these to being really viable trees is about 20 years. And then after that, they become less secure in themselves and in where they are, and they start failing. And so that's it seemed like from what I read and from what you folks discussed as I watched that video that I missed,
Right.
that was the discussion.
So, anyway, I just wanted to make
It's
that comment.
definitely past 20 years now.
but I honestly got bad for that guy because he was going to take out a tree that's close to failing anyway, and we were making him pay to put in 2 more trees, which is not cheap, And
It was something he offered, so anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, I didn't want this to be like a discussion about it, but just to, not to put it on the agenda, but on your radar, that I think this is going to be an issue that we're going to be hopefully dealing with in the future. Was there any, I don't think we had any other business to talk about, and I don't think there's any, is there anybody else that wanted to make a comment or
Mr. Young,
did you have a comment to make, or?
Not in this case, on my case.
I didn't hear you, I'm sorry.
On my case, yes.
He has a comment on his case, not on any of the other cases.
Okay, I mean, did you want to make a comment?
Yes.
Okay.
After I left from here, I called.
Can you come to the mic just so we can get it on the recording?
Yeah, you
please?
might, yeah,
Thanks.
come on.
after I left from here, I went outside and I called Philip Bradley, my contractor, and I asked him, you know, when we got the permit to rebuild build this house, what was the process? What did you did? He said, before we demolished the existing house, we had to turn off all the utilities, electrical, if it's a gas line, if it's a, you know, the propane line, if it's sewer line, water line, have to be there. He said they had the city inspector coming, they cut the, you know, the sewer line from the main intake to the street, and they cap it. Inspectors sign off on it, and they installed the green pipes from the sewer line in the city to the house, 2005. I asked him, do you have all the record and report of that? He said he's gonna go to his file, and he's gonna pull them out, and he's gonna bring it back. So the case that, you know, we didn't change the sewer line, it looks like is not valid in this point until I bring all the document back here, then you guys say, so how I'm gonna be able to pursue this after the decision you guys made to look at it over, the sewer line has been changed. You did it 13 years ago, we did it 15 years ago, you know, so that has been done.
It's 17 years old, right?
We built the house in 2005, we moved into 2007.
Oh, okay, all right.
Because it was an old house.
Right.
We took the whole entire house out. We donated all the furniture in there because nobody was living in it to the Salvation Army. And then, you know, they demolished the entire house. But by law, any estate, anywhere, when you want to demolish the house, you have to cap off everything. You have to disconnect all the, you know, utilities that it comes to the house. And they did that. And one of the issue was, I asked him, he said, yes, we cut off the, you know, the sewer line, we cap it in the street, then install the new pipe, the green pipe that is attached to the house. He said the green pipe is a pipe that these days is the latest that installed for a sewer line.
Okay. But what I'm saying is the new pipe is 17 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't call that a new pipe.
I don't think so. Well, I don't think so. Everybody is going to changing the pipe every day or every week.
No,
you know,
but I mean, I'm just saying if that's it, we have to find out what you have to determine what the issue is.
Yeah,
with
but you know, the thing was that, you know, Ms. Lingo was explaining that there is no record of the, you know, this has been done. And you were stating that there is a 70 years old sewer line, but it's not, it's a 15. She changed hers in the 13 years ago, and after she had a problem, we did a couple of years before that when we rebuilt the house.
Okay.
Well, if I can speak from my experience, as I recall from our problem, there are two sewer lines. There's the one, there's the city, the city one, and then the one from, you're absolutely right, from the city line to your house. And there are different responsibilities, as I recall, for that. The one from your house to the city was homeowners. And if there was any issue in the city's line, then you talk to the city, and and we had both, and the city sent Caswell, and they used that snake. I'm sorry, here they used that snake kind of camera to find where the issues were, so that they knew what had to be replaced. And you mentioned when you were speaking earlier about a camera, you know, the camera to find where the problem was, but what I didn't hear you say, and maybe you don't know, is if that was a break there or whether they were just finding a route. Because if there's a break there, then that has to be resolved or solved.
They didn't mention anything about
Yeah,
that.
well,
but what I'm saying is we follow the rule.
Understand.
We apply for the new connections. We cap off the old one. We put the new one in place, and that's why we have a problem. So I want to know, if I can get all those documents back to you guys, can we reopen this case and see, you know, where we are, or what's the procedure is? I don't live here, you know, I'm in somewhere else, and this is my second home. So that's why I had to come back.
Because the meeting was not adjourned yet, the case is still considered active, even though you've acted on it. So you could, if you think that additional evidence could potentially change your minds, you could announce today that it's going to be on next month's meeting for reconsideration. It We wouldn't have to do all the newspaper publications because you're still in today's meeting, so presumably the public's here and is able to hear that the case would be reconsidered. But if you don't think that more information on the sewer line would change your decision that you made today, then you shouldn't move forward. Again, it's discretionary. You can reconsider it, not reconsider it.
I don't want to really do that. I mean, I just think that, I think you need to get some more definitive information. If you can get an inspection of the pipe, if they can run a camera down and see, if more clearly what's going on. But I don't think we're prepared to make any kind of change at this
I mean,
moment.
if I get the information,
If you can, that's what I'm saying. If you can give us some additional, what you're offering
so
here.
that's what I'm going with. His offer that is saying that if I get the information and bring it up here, you can reconsider to, look at it in there, not, make a decision as of today, since you are not adjourned, that, it be open case, that I can follow up more information
I'm just saying,
to prove my case.
if you want to bring to us additional information in the future, that's
And put
fine.
it on the record that I'll be here next month on the, next
things
meeting
going
or
I
whatever.
think
Yeah, I mean.
two different issues.
Right, so one option for you is to say you've made your decision today based upon the evidence you had, cases therefore closed. If he comes up with additional information and evidence, he can resubmit and file a new application. I mean, you'd go through the same process. Liz would have to say that the tree can't be removed. He'd file another application to come before you all. That's one option. The second option is to say we are kind of reopening the case since we haven't adjourned yet today, and we're going to allow the applicant to come back next month for your further consideration based upon new evidence.
I opt for option one. Okay, so.
What is option one?
Option one is you can provide it, you can make another application. If you have additional information you think, hinges on this, take it to Liz, make another application and come see
Go
us.
back again through the whole process?
Yeah, yeah, okay.
Isn't the real issue that I don't think any of us knows, Mr. Yazdani didn't feel he knew, is what is the actual condition of the
Right,
sewer?
and that's,
of
I think that's
of
what
the
we
two-
need to know.
Of the two pieces of sewer line now, the one from his house to the city and the city in front, and if there's an issue there, so that,
Right,
I'm not responsible for city line. I'm responsible for my own property.
I understand.
okay. Anyway, I'm going to say we're adjourned, okay? Thank you all, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, thank you, committee.
Thank you for chairing. This was